and I'm feeling.
Thank you, Will. I'm so glad you're feeling good. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
It's always my blessing and my joy to gaze upon your faces because I feel the energy just coming back, and that is a rich blessing for me. Welcome to the snowbirds who are finding their way home after being away in another home. We're happy that you're here. So let us just take a moment and begin to center ourselves and open our minds and our hearts to the living Spirit of truth that carries the vibration of unconditional love. Love that heals, love that connects us, love that comforts us and guides us. We thank you, sweet Spirit, that we were guided here and that we're here today by divine appointment. We receive your blessings. Thank you. And so it is. Amen.
Please stand and join us for I Choose Love. The lyrics are in the bulletins. Peace in my life is growing because I choose love. Love's always present, it's what I'm made of. I choose love. We are a part of each other. We are one. One tie that binds us, it can't be undone. I choose love. Peace in my family is growing because I choose love. Let love be present, it's what we're made of. I choose love. We are a part of each other. We are one. One loving family, sharing one son. I choose love. Peace for our planet is growing because I choose love. Let love be present, it's what we're made of. I choose love. We are a part of each other. We are one. One choice unites us, this be the one. I choose love. I choose love. I choose love.
Thank you. Let's affirm our opening statement together. There is only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life, God, the good, omnipotent. And our vision statement, a world of spiritually awakened hearts and minds. And our mission, we are creating a joyful community on a spiritual pathway to peace and love through fellowship, classes, music, and services. Thank you.
The word for today is world peace. I am a peaceful presence to all. Peace in the world begins with me. I consider it a sacred response to all people and circumstances. I consider it a sacred respond to all people and circumstances peacefully. Uh-oh. I'm missing the last line.
Oh, you can make it up.
You make it.
I forge these moments. I am less than peaceful and quickly return God in my heart. I am a living expression of God, just as all people are. My bearing inspires peacefulness wherever I go, and with every and each day. I join like-minded people everywhere, and I'm committed to be a presence of peace. I give thanks and communicate God's love in my unique ways. I communicate peace, and I communicate it to individuals, families, communities, and throughout the world. And from Corinthians 13:11, put things in order, listen to my appeal, agree and live in peace, and the God of love and peace will be with you. Corinthians 13:11.
Please join us in singing our centering song, I Am. It's in your bulletins.
Beyond my thoughts, beyond my story, beyond the fear, beyond the memory, beyond the pain, beyond the glory, I am, I am, I am. Beyond the frail and hungry eagle, beyond the way we get where we can go, beyond the things we think that we know, I am, I am, I am.
I am, you are, we are the living presence of God. Beyond all of our egos, beyond all of the thinking that our mind does, the presence of God stands as pure love, pure wisdom, beauty and grace in motion. We are not the all of God, but all that God is in each one of us. All that we need stands ready for our decree. in this now moment, we are living in the kingdom of heaven. And in the next moment, we are living in the kingdom of heaven. So we relax and let go. Just take a breath and allow ourselves to feel the love, the peace, the gratitude, the inspiration that is all a part of who I am. Let us rest in the silence. Thank you, sweet Spirit, for this time of being still, of reconnecting, remembering the truth of what we are and why we are here. We lift our eyes now and we embrace this day, ready to be what you have called us to be, which is no less than the light of the world. This is our prayer, our decree, and so it is, and so we let it be. Amen, amen, and amen.
I came broken, yet found my way on an unfamiliar road, nearing the close of the day. And the unexpected lines drawn by the hard hand of fate somehow drew us here in this story that could not wait. Now I spread my wings, I go there, back to my home where nothing separates the land and the air. It's where I come from, it's all that I know. It's the freedom, the freedom, the freedom of letting go. I come broken, yet rise above the misdirected twists and turns, all those roadblocks to love, and the unexpected grace that carries me so far beyond the setting sun of what alone I could not become. Now I spread my wings, I go there, back to my home where nothing separates the land and the air. It's where I come from, it's all that I know. It's the freedom of letting creates the land and the air.
That was beautiful, Amber. That was beautiful. Yeah, my original home was in Tennessee, as I think most of you know that. I had a friend in Tennessee, kind of an odd creature. He was really from upstate New York, but he'd come to Nashville, Tennessee to be a songwriter and a singer, as so many people did. His name was Donnie. Donnie also had relatives in Florida, so he would like to go visit his relatives in Florida and go deep sea fishing. So he came back one trip and told this story. He said he and his family had been out in the boat all day and didn't catch anything. So when they got back to the boat dock and the pier, started taking their bait, which were little fish, and started tossing them out to the pelicans that were sitting there on the pier. And there was this one pelican that wasn't getting the good stuff. And he would go diving for a bird when another one would sweep it right out from under him. So Donnie felt sorry for the pelican. So he takes the fish, goes walking out on the pier to hand him the fish, the poor little pelican. When the pelican leaped toward him and grabbed his face with his jaws. And he wouldn't let go. And Donnie's there shaking his head, trying to get this pelican off his face. When he finally did let go, Donnie just looked up and said, "Boy, it really stinks in there." It smells like old rotting fish. Oh, so that reminds me of a cartoon on a card that somebody once gave me, and was a picture of this little man just standing there, and this whole fish had swallowed his head. So it looked like from the neck up was just this big fish. And the caption under it said, "Relax, God is in charge." Well, that's easy to say if you don't have a pelican on your face, right? It's easy to say. How do we know God is in charge? I mean, we say it, we affirm it, we say we believe it. How do we know that God is in charge? When I was in school, my teachers always gave me a test to see if I knew what it was that I was supposed to know, right? We all were tested. We're even tested now if we want to know what's wrong with our hip or our elbow or anything. We have a test. Tests. Everywhere we go, there is a test. So life gives us tests, right? In the form of challenges. Something unexpected has come our way, something uninvited, something we would rather not deal with. When I was given a pop quiz, I always had the faith in myself to know the material. So let me ask you this. Who conquered Greece after the downfall of Athens? Philip of Macedonia. That's the only question I missed on a 100-page test. Now, I don't remember anything about world history. I don't remember anything about that test or even the teacher. I remember the question I missed. We do learn more from our failed attempts than we ever do from our successes. It helps to meet our tests, our challenges, with faith. I've got this. I know the answer, right? And so sometimes we affirm it, and we affirm it, and we affirm it, because we use affirmations in unity. Affirmations are statements of spiritual truth, and they condition our minds so that when challenges do come, that thought of truth is there rather than the thought of what if? What if the worst happens? What if? Because our minds will definitely go there, right? So that's all good. Jesus said if you have faith the size of a mustard seed, you could stand in front of that mountain and say, move to the sea. And that would happen. But what if I went and stood at the base of Mount Lemon, summoned up all the faith I could and said, move to the sea? And what if that didn't happen? What happens when we're doing the best we can to manifest our dreams, our desires, and it doesn't happen? I have to ask myself in those situations, well, who's really doing the asking? Whose idea of good is this anyway? My ego? Or is it the spiritual presence wanting to create through me something else? Who is doing the asking? You know, the universe is here to give us anything we decree. That's a quantum principle. We can create the life that we want. And that has to come from the inside out. It has to come from spiritual desires pressing through us into the world. It can't be what the ego thinks that the ego wants. Einstein said we live in a friendly universe, and we do. We live in a universe that loves to love, loves to create through us beauty, harmony, peace, insights, miracles, all of that. All of that. So what stops us? What stops us? I believe it's faith in lack. Lack. I'm not good enough. I'm too old. I don't have the time. I don't have the money. I never did this. I never did that. I wish I hadn't done this. Wish I hadn't done that. On and on and on. There are 1,000,001 reasons why we aren't living in the kingdom of heaven. The kingdom of heaven is always right here and right now, right? However, we will say to ourselves, well, this isn't the kingdom of heaven. I know that. Because if it were, there'd be this and this and this, and not this and this and this and this. And it's all the kingdom of heaven. Sometimes we abuse our affirmations. We want something so bad, and we call it our faith, that we're just going to keep holding the vision and doing the right things, when what's really fueling that behavior is fear. There's a fine line between fear and faith. It's fear. It's fear I'm not going to get what I want, or I'm going to lose something that's precious to me. and the divine self of you can never lose what is true, what is real, and always has what is true and what is real. So I want to tell you another story. But before I do, I want to say this. Affirmations are designed to liberate us from fear, to reinforce in our minds, and thus it penetrates to our hearts, the truth of who we are. And that the potential for being a divine presence on earth, which we all are, but to know that we know, and to be that is always present. Okay, so I'm going to share a little story. I've shared this before sometime last year, and the reason I know is I can remember seeing some faces laughing and having some things quoted back to me. So I know many of you haven't heard this story, so if you've heard it, I hope you enjoy it again. I'm a Tennessee girl. I'm a nature girl. I'm a double Taurus, whatever, however you want to say it. I lived out in the woods and built my own house from recycled lumber from a church I tore down in Georgia. That's another story someday. But at the time, I was living in this little yurt, Mongolian yurt, that belonged to the neighbor. It was 12 feet in diameter and had a little sleeping loft. It's really kind of cool. Had a little pot-bellied stove in there for when it got cold. Well, during this time, I had a mama cat. And the mama cat, I remember one afternoon, I'm just laying in the yurt looking out the door, watching her run up this tree and teaching her kittens to run up the tree. I think, wow, look at that. And then there was Willie. Willie was the smallest, last to be born runt of the litter. He was struggling. Finally, she comes down out of the trees. The kittens come down out of the trees. She lays on her side, and they all go to lunch. I just wanted to share that story because I think it's sweet. No point to it. The next Willie story, however, I lived on a creek. It was shallow but very fast flowing. And occasionally there were rocks that kind of came up that were dry patches. So my mama cat was teaching the kittens to cross the creek. Cats are not too fond of bodies of water, but she was teaching them to cross the creek. So I stood there and just marveled at this lesson in nature. She runs across the creek, stands on the other shore, and meows. Meow. And here they come. First one just bounds across, no big deal. Second one, third one, fourth one, and now it's Willie's turn. Willie stood on the bank, and he was frozen. He would not put a paw in the water. So I decided, like Donnie decided to feed the fish, the pelican, right? I decided I'm going to give Willie a boost. So I go and I pick him up and I tiptoe all the way over to the other side of the creek, except for about 1 foot, and I placed Willie down, thinking he would see his mother and go the rest of the way. No. Little Willie freaked out and ran all the way back across the creek to where he was originally. Oh, don't we do the same thing sometimes? We are so close to being relaxed and peaceful, knowing that God has got this. Relax, God is in charge. And then a challenge comes, a test comes. And what do? We run all the way back to what we know, how we've lived in the past. If we've got the vision and the energy to go backwards, we've got the vision and the energy to go forward. Don't be a Willie. Bottom line. And I want to share another experience. Today is the day for reminiscing for me, I suppose, but when I lived in Virginia, I had 2 acres, and it was mostly trees, except the very front of the property was a yard and a house, and then the back, there were trees, and at the bottom of the hill was a creek. There was a swing in the woods that I liked to sit in. I would go back there and just sit on the cedar swing. One day I was sitting back there and I looked up at the trees. There were poplar and there were oak and there were red buds and all kinds of trees. And I felt the trees loving me. This is not to say that I was sitting here thinking, oh, I love these trees. No. I felt the trees loving me. And I sat there, and then I said, wow, am I doing this? The minute I did that, that magical moment disappeared, the connection was gone. Because what did I do? I went straight to my head. I started analyzing it. What that experience was love. I felt an expanded awareness that was love. It was both within me and without me. That is the love of your true self. It is immense. It transcends time, space, and dimensions. It is immense. But the little ego, and I'm not belittling the ego, it has a function. But often the ego just doesn't understand. We have an experience and the ego says, wow, did I do that? Yeah, wow. Rather than realizing we've just been given a gift. The universe is here to support us 100%. We say God's in charge. Relax, God's got this. Do we really believe it? Because according to your belief, is it done unto you? Do you really believe it? All those affirmations we say, do you really believe them? I think if we believe God's in charge and all our affirmations are true, we'd just be living in grace, right? Absolutely living in grace. Why? We could walk around with a fish on our heads and look to somebody says, hey, what are you looking at? Nothing wrong here. Because God is in the midst of every nuance of our lives. We may have challenges and tests and we may not know the answer, but we can know that God knows. And that's the affirmation to practice. God knows. And what I need to know will be revealed at the right time and in the right way. Therefore, I'm just going to sit on my swing in the backyard and let the trees love me. And you can too. Thank you.
Join us in singing God is My Source. It's in your bulletin.
is my source. God is my power. God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. Love is my source. Love is my power. Love gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. Love gives me everything I need. Joy is my source. Joy is my power. Joy gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. Joy gives me everything I need. Peace is my source. Peace is my power. Peace gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. Peace gives me everything I need. Let's hear it, Will. God is my source. God is my source. God is my power. God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. God gives me everything I need. God gives me everything I need.
One of my very favorites. Okay, as often my style, there is an addendum to my talk. So here it is. I had a cat that I used to wrestle with. And I would put my hand over her face and just shake her back and forth like that. Believe it or not, she loved that. But in the throes of doing battle, she would start to bite my hand. And a little harder, and a little harder. And when I finally let go of her face, the instant I did that, she stopped biting me. So what we resist persists. Let go, relax, know that whatever you are seeking to find, it will be revealed at the right time and in the right way. God did not bring you or me in without a purpose and without divine order in our lives every single second, whether we acknowledge it or not. So when you find your head in the jaws of life and everything is dark and smells like rotten fish, stand in the moment, face your challenge, relax, let go, and know that God is doing a good and perfect work through you and through your situation. This is a talk I gave 15 years ago. Still one of my favorites. Let us take a breath and affirm together the blessing of our tithes and offerings. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And I am grateful. Are you ready? Y'all go out of line.
Rev, I'm always ready.
There was a time in my life I thought I had to do it all for myself. Didn't know the grace of God was sufficient. Oh no, I didn't know the love of God was at hand. But now I can say, if you are discouraged, struggling just to make another day, said go on, let it go. I said go on, let it go. Oh yeah, you've got to let it go. This is what you have to say. Go on, put your hands together. Right there. 1, 2, 3, 4. I release and I let go. Let the Spirit run my life. Yeah. And my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. I release and I let go.
Stand if you like.
Let the Spirit run my life. And my heart is open wide. I said I'm only here for God. Come on. Sing along. Come on. I release and I let go. Let the Spirit run my life. And my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. Said I release and I let go. Let the Spirit run my life. And my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. Said my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. Yeah.
So, remain standing because we're closing. We're going to now affirm our prayer for protection, followed by our peace song. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.
Let us walk with each other in